Hey everyone, just thought I'd make this video to kind of show off some of the progress that's happening with the Odd Aesthetic Anime. Um, I don't want to show off too many clips, I just thought I'd show this honestly kind of impressive scene of Jakku running throughout the city. Obviously not complete, this is a very early stage, like early in the animation progress. I only have the sketch version. You can see in the first 2 frames being used of the city part, at least. You can see some black lines. That's just me trying to color it, but I'm not obviously not completely finished with it yet. But yeah, basically in this scene, I just kind of want to give some context to it, kind of show how, or not really show how I did it, more so just explain it. So yeah, basically what I did is that I've seen from plenty of anime where they use CGI in a few of their, scenes like this where there's a 3D environment. And they'll use 3D CGI software to not only create the environment, but also to move around as the character would. For this, I don't have a software for it, and even if I did, I wouldn't quite know how to do it. So I decided I would go ahead and draw the entire environment, and that in and of itself is very difficult, and for somewhat of a large portion, I probably will do something such as that, but for this one specifically, I decided to try out a new method, which was basically just build it in Minecraft, which I do have a kind of model city in Minecraft. I've never shown it off or anything, but it's like yeah, it's basically just me not really recreating the city, more so creating it in the first place and using it as a sort of marker, or more so, I don't know how to explain it. More so just to base what the city should look like what's the location of everything, how it all pieces together. And then I would model not just the anime, but also the source material, the webcomic off of it, which I haven't done before. Like, if you look at the chapters that I have, or the episodes that I have out already, you can see I haven't done something like that. You can kind of tell there wasn't any plan or anything with that. It's a lot more abstract. But going forth, I want to have it more based off of actual structure. So thus, I created this Minecraft world for it, and as you can see, it was used within this little animatic. I think that's what you call it. If it's not like a full-on animation and only the sketches, is just animatic. So that's what I did. This part, like this scene specifically, takes place right after Jakku. I know what happens, obviously, because I wrote it, but I just kind of forgot like how do you say that? How do you say it in a sentence? Basically, in the scene, which you should know if you read the web comic, Jakku is like giving his whole introduction to the series on a rooftop, and the owner of the store on the rooftop, which is a bookstore. I think I'm gonna change it to a manga cafe or something, but it's basically some store where people read in it, right? Yeah, I'm making it a manga cafe. That's a lot more convenient to make it a manga cafe than a bookstore, because that doesn't make sense. So yeah, so Jakku's like standing on the rooftop of the bookstore, and it's annoying the customers as well as the guy who owns the store. So he comes out there and tells Jakku to quiet down. Jakku starts making excuses, and so then he's also an old man. He gets angry and does this whole transformation into this giant beast of a man, he gets all like muscular and stuff. It's obviously exaggerated for the scene, but Jakku gets scared, so that part right there where he jumps off of the rooftop, that's him like directly afterwards. He's just now jumped off of that rooftop and is now jumping throughout the rooftops. Although with the structure of this city, it's a little. I don't know if there's like a real life parallel to this, but basically it's a lot more twisty in a sense. Like there's like, you have the standard like ground level and then buildings and stuff, but there's also a lot of staircases that leads up to buildings that exist on top of the rooftops of other buildings, sort of piled on each other. I wouldn't say piled on each other, more like it just builds up and down, almost as if the city is being built on an artificial hill, is, I guess, the best way to say it. So, you have structures like that. That's basically what Jakku is on. That's why the places where he's running are at different levels. Some are rooftops, the others are like actual just sort of, not ground level, but like the places where you would enter the front of a building, so it would make it ground level relative to that building. Anyways, yeah. So I'm trying to think of what else to talk about. One quick thing you might notice that I kind of did to help myself in this is in the Minecraft world, I built a bunch of like arrows to kind of show the direction that the camera would be moving in. Obviously, in the scene, I being the camera, moved backwards, but I still had it just in reference for when I do the shot again. So you'll actually notice at the end where Jakku does the flip, there's a big arrow sign. That's actually because that was one of the arrows. That was to show where the scene goes through next. Because right after this, it goes through that area. And I decided to keep it in because it kind of looked like a typical road sign. There is also somewhere in the middle of it, right between one of the two buildings, there's this little thing you can see on the side. That was actually based off of one of the arrows. It was just it was out of the way, so you couldn't see the full arrow. You could only see the side of it, and it looked blocky and stuff. I decided to, it kind of looks like something that would be seen on the backside in the alleyway of a building. Looks like something they'd put on there. So I just thought, why not? You can also kind of notice a lot of the buildings and stuff are kind of devoid of texture and details. I want to add more stuff into it. The only problem being that you kind of have to match it up with the 3D environment, which is a little hard to do. You can see in one of the parts that I did actually have to, because the way I built it was kind of weird, so I had to basically put an entire building there that wasn't there before, or at least I had to put the bottom of the building that wasn't there before. And if you watch it really closely and slow it down, you can kind of notice in that part, it's near the part where he jumps off and uses the cable as a rope, which I'll get into in a second. You can kind of see how the lines go in and out as if they're not really based off of anything structural. That's why. It's because there wasn't anything to base it off of. I did also kind of lie a little bit in terms of perspective. When it shows him swinging on that cable, it shows that the place is actually bottomless. There was actually a bottom. I just wanted to give it the sense of this place being huge. So I decided not to show it there. Even at the very end, you can kind of see the ground. Actually, that place right there, at the very end, that Jakku jumps off, like when he flips and then falls into, It's actually like a drainage area. So yeah. Anyways, let's talk about that cable scene for a bit. So that's like probably the part that I feel the proudest about, because if you notice, I'm just putting this out here for reference, right? I'm not trying to brag or anything, but that part there, I don't know, I find it mostly impressive because the cable itself kind of follows physics, which is, you have to have a very good grasp on, not like exact physics, but just like realism when making animation in order to make things more impactful, you know, make snaps and bends and stuff. Basically, if you slow it down and look at it really closely, you'll notice not only is the cable itself sort of being guided by Jakku's movements, and also around that area you'll notice there's parts where Jakku turns into a circle. That's because I actually didn't notice that till now. The only reason for that is because when making it, I just decided I wasn't going to draw all of Jakku's movements at first. I was just going to make it as circles to represent him and then draw over it with Jakku. That was one of those parts. Anyways, back to the cable thing. So what what I did with it, actually in the Minecraft world, I put what would be the cable as like spider webs, like cobweb blocks in that general direction, and then I drew over it, obviously making the part where it's actually connected further away, and then actually having parts where the camera is seemingly really close to the point where the cable itself in that area becomes bigger than Jakku, and that's just because of perspective. To give it the sense that the camera is actually in the world following Jakku's movements. Yeah, and then you'll notice it's all loopy and floppy at first, and then as soon as Jakku comes to the point where he's like fully downward, I don't know what it's called, it's like the lowest point of the cable actually stretches, and then yeah, that's when Jakku's at the lowest point, because obviously his weight's slightly pulling it down. And then at that point, Jakku pushes off of the building, the adjacent building, and that's what causes it to become floppy again, because now he's ascending rather than descending, which is then when he makes the jump and then lets go of the cable, which becomes even more floppy, because now it's not connected to him, or he's not connected to it, so it's just flowing around because there's no longer anything holding it back. So yeah, anyways, that's just me rambling on about this little animation that I made for the Odd Aesthetic Anime. Make sure to stay tuned for more information about it, and yeah, thanks for watching. See ya.